So you've just purchased your first AEG and you're wondering where to begin. Well, today's video is going to be the do's and don'ts with your new AEG. Hey guys, Hank from Fox Airsoft here, and today's video is going to be all about AEG basics. So maybe you picked up one of our beginner packages, or like this Lancer Mark 18 here, you have a lot of accessories such as battery and charger. Well, this video is going to explain all about how to use it, the do's and don'ts, tips and tricks, and little quirks on using your new AEG. This video is designed to help new players and experienced players alike and help you on your journey in Airsoft. To demonstrate today's video, we'll be using a Lancer Tactical Mark 18 Gen 2, an AEG M15 Armalite Carbine Sportline Edition, and the Elite Force M4 CFR. But first, let's start with the boring stuff, which is batteries. I have two here. They're both nickel metal hydride. They both have small Tamiya plugs, which is the most common ones. And they're both roughly about 1600 milliamps in capacity. So this configuration where it's two split bodies here, that would be called the nunchuck or butterfly style. And this is the most common used battery for M4s. To charge them, I have the AEG auto stop charger, standard wall charger, as well as the AEG multi-balance charger. Using a standard wall charger, you're going to first look out for the output, which is 250 milliamps here, and divide that into the capacity of your battery. So 1600 milliamps into 250, it's about 6.5. That's how many hours you charge. With the standard wall charger, it does not cut off on its own, so you have to constantly monitor it to make sure you don't overcharge it. Otherwise, you can risk damaging the battery or causing a fire. Make sure it's not hot to the touch and everything else is good to go. With the auto stop chargers though, it's going to cut off on its own, as the name implies. This is great because you don't have to do any guesswork, any math, and it'll always top off your batteries to exactly where it needs to be. The multi-balance charger by AEG is a more all-in-one type charger where you can also do Lipo batteries. This one has multiple settings, so this one, while it is more convenient because it can do different types, you have to be more careful about how to use it. You have to use the correct adapter plugs, which are included, and then you have to cycle through the settings so that it'll charge properly. So we're going to cycle through here. We're using nickel metal hydride, so following the instructions, it says to hold the button and it'll cycle. Just be sure to follow the instructions carefully. Like I said, the different flashes mean different things, so if you do this wrong, you could damage your battery or again cause fire. Charging a Lipo battery on nickel metal hydride settings is a guaranteed way to cause it to explode. So on this one, you're going to use the adapter plugs, which says to use that port there, and then we're going to press the button and it's going to start blinking. It'll cut off on its own and then it'll be ready to go in no time. With the batteries ready to go, now we're going to install them into the guns. First, I'll start with the M15. This one is front wired, so the wiring is in the front of the gun. We're going to remove the handguard, which is a clamshell design, and then we're going to put the battery in the lower handguard and carefully snap the handguard back into place. You have to pay attention to the wiring, as you don't want to pinch the wires. Make sure it's nice and snug and not exposed in any way when you close the handguard, and it should close easily. If it's not, then try again until you do it right. Now with the Mark 18, they're going to have that style of stock, which will store the battery. We generically call it the crane stock. We're going to remove the pad from the back of the buttstock here. There's two tabs, identical, one on each side. You're going to use your index finger and your thumb to depress the tabs and then pivot the butt pad off. Once it's off, you're going to find the wiring in the back of the what's called the buffer tube, and you're going to bring it out. Now install your battery, and you're going to insert the battery and then carefully plug in the wire and then route it so that it's not crushed when you put the butt pad back on. So we're going to snap it in and then again route the battery, and then that looks like it's out of the way, so we'll put that butt pad back on. There shouldn't be any issues as far as feeling any wires getting crushed. You'll know you did it correctly when the stock can slide back and forth without effort. Now we'll do the same thing with the Elite Force CFR. This one has a hinged butt plate on the stock. So what you do is you'll depress the latch there, and the hinge butt pad will roll out of the way, and then you'll bring out the wires. Then you'll insert the batteries very carefully, plug the connector, and then put the wires back into the buffer tube. Now look at this mess of wires here. This is exactly what you don't want. You don't want them kind of hanging out there before you close it. Otherwise you will cut or damage the wires. This is how it should be. You tuck it into the little crevices that are provided for you, and then you close the hinge butt pad. Again, the stock should slide back and forth freely, which means that you did it correctly. Now we'll go into BBs. I have two kinds here, 0.20 grams and 0.25 gram BBs by Elite Force. You'll want the heavier ones for the windier days or for better shot consistency, but the lighter BBs are fine too. They're just a little bit cheaper. They're more susceptible to wind, of course. Using heavier BBs will also mean a slower flight time, so keep that in mind. So we're going to put them into the magazine, which I have here a high cap magazine. These hold about roughly 300 rounds for the M4 style, and they'll have a wheel at the bottom. The wheel is called the winding wheel, and what you do is you open the trap door on the top, and you're going to pour the BBs into the top until it's full. So here it is full. You're going to close the trap door, and then you're going to start winding it. It'll make this distinct sound, and then when it's done winding, it'll click like this. You'll be able to shoot about a third of the magazine off before you have to wind it again. Now we'll show you the same thing but with a mid-cap magazine. These do not require winding. They have a simple top and bottom, so there's nothing to look out for. You'll use a loading tool such as this, where you will put BBs in here and it'll transfer the BBs into the magazine. They'll come with attachments which you may or may not use in other guns. So you're going to pour it into the trap door here. This is a 480 rounder, and you're going to line up the loading nozzle to the top of the magazine, and you're just going to press, which will transfer 4 or 5 BBs at a time, and you're going to do this a bunch of times until it's full. Our mags are ready to go, so now we'll adjust the hop-up. You will pull the charging handle back, and that'll expose the hop-up unit. This gives backspin to the BB to compensate for droppage. Whatever weight you select on BBs, you will compensate for the drop by adjusting the hop-up. I have these hop-ups out of the gun just so I can easier demonstrate for you how to adjust them. So this is the dial type where you just turn a big wheel. Here it is with the hop-up effect more pronounced. And we'll do the same thing with the other style of hop-up unit, which is a 3-dial system. You'll turn the biggest of the 3 wheels, and that'll introduce more hop-up. To demonstrate the effects of hop-up, I have this crude drawing I whipped up really quickly. So what you're trying to do is to achieve the straightest possible flight for your BB, given the type of weight you're using. So the center line there, that's a solid line, that's just perfect. That'll fly straight up to the 150 or 200 feet of any given airsoft gun range. If you have your hop-up adjusted too much, it's going to fly and curve sharply up. And if you have it set too low or off, the BB will drop significantly short of the target. So depending on the weight of BB you're using, you're going to have to adjust it and then shoot and adjust until you achieve that perfect path. One thing to note is that the BBs in the magazine, even when it's practically empty, it'll never pick up the last 4, and that's just due to the distance between the hop-up unit and the magazine, between the chute. So as soon as you take out the magazine, 4 BBs always drops out. That's just a normal thing. Now here we have a cleaning rod. This will have 2 parts to it. There will be a loop side and a pokey side. This is the loop side, and you're going to put a paper towel or some kind of cloth, and then you're going to spritz it with silicone oil, and you're going to put this rod into your gun and then do a couple sweeps there. You'll even want to do this on a new gun, but just do this after every 2 or 3 games and you'll be fine. You're going to give it a couple passes until the cloth gets cleaner and cleaner, and that's when you know you're done. Now for the pokey side, you will use that to unjam the gun. If you have a BB stuck in the chamber and you can't shoot it out, you can use the rod to poke it out. Okay guys, this video ran a little bit longer than I expected, so this will now be a 2-part series, this being part 1. So be sure to watch our channel for part 2 to go up. This will include more information on things you should know about your first airsoft gun. Once again, I'm Tank from Fox Airsoft. I'll catch you guys later.